Hello fellow coffee botherers, in this video we're going to be talking about my secret life as a ninja.
No, Kev, the Ninja coffee machine.
Smoke bomb! Pretend you didn't see that. In this video we're looking at this, the Ninja Luxe Cafe coffee machine. It's not even available in the UK yet and I've been inundated with questions about it, so I bought one from America and it's very surprising. See the pinned comment and I'll update that as soon as I find out the launch date in the UK. As I've said, I bought this, it wasn't sent to me, and Ninja have absolutely nothing to do with this video. I need to give a shout out to Mark at coffeegeek.com for his help in preparing for this video. Mark did a really good first look blog post on this, link in description, which I studied while I was waiting for this to arrive. And I've been picking his brains about it for the past few days too, so that's been very helpful. Let's start off with the specs. 53mm portafilter, standard, no pressurization, double shot basket and Luxe basket, standard baskets not pressurized. The machine can recognise which basket is in the grinding cradle and will only allow you to select the corresponding drinks. Clever. 2 litre water tank with sensor, integrated conical burr grinder with 25 grind settings, grind by weight, really, for this price? Barista Assist technology with grind size guidance, 3 brew temperatures, auto grinder pulsing when grinding finer, I'll explain, grinder purge function, auto pre-infusion, auto milk frothing hot and cold, auto steam wand purge, brews various other kinds of coffee in addition to espresso including filter coffee and cold brew, digital display, built-in storage compartment, cup riser, spring-loaded tamper and dosing ring with handy storage slots, special adjustable drip tray to accommodate swimming pool-sized cups. So as you can see from the specs, this is a hugely versatile coffee machine. It'll do double espresso, quad espresso, cold brew, cold pressed espresso, filter style coffee from 6 ounce all the way up to 18 ounce over half a litre, and it'll accommodate travel mugs up to about 20 centimetres tall. It'll do auto milk frothing and manual milk frothing and cold milk frothing. This all seems too good to be true, but is it? Keep watching and find out. I'll make coffees with it as I'm talking. If I do it separately, this video will end up being way too long, but we will do another video specifically making coffees with it, as we did with the Sage or Breville Barista Touch Impress. Now let's answer the important questions everyone keeps asking. How much is it? In America, it's $499. It's not available in the UK yet. I believe it will be quite soon. See the pinned comment and I'll update that when I find out more. If you think you found this in the UK retailing for about 300 quid, by the way, think again. A few people have told me that. It hasn't been released yet in the UK at the time of filming, August 2024. And when it is, I assume it'll be around £499. We shall see. Why is the portafilter so deep? This is so it can accommodate the Luxe basket, which is used for a quad shot and for the cold brew and filter brew. Are the baskets pressurised? No, told you that before. There's no pressurisation going on here at all. We're talking proper, traditional, unpressurised portafilter and baskets. If you don't know what I'm going on about here, this means that it works like a professional commercial espresso machine in that it's capable of producing what home baristas would refer as true espresso. A lot of entry-level home espresso machines come with pressurised baskets which allow you to use pre-ground coffee and don't need dialing in where grind size is concerned. What's the build quality like? Alright. I wasn't expecting much. This is very much a kitchen appliance from a kitchen appliance brand, and it's incredibly cheap for what it is, so I was expecting mainly plastic. There is quite a lot of plastic, but there's also quite a lot of metal. The drip tray cover is fairly thick metal, the cup riser tray is chunky metal, the portafilter is metal with fairly decent quality plastic handle, so overall pretty good actually for the money. What's the heat up time? There's no apparent heat up time when you turn it on, it's immediately able to brew. So it seems that the water heater only heats up on demand when you first start brewing, and that's the first green light on the progress bar. But there's something else going on with heating. As soon as you start grinding, the group and the cup warmer start to heat up. I don't know exactly what the crack is here though, so I won't pretend to do. Subscribe, click the like button and do a little dance to see one of my follow-up videos on this machine, as I'm going to ask my engineer friend Radu from
espressorepairshop.co.uk
to open it up and let me know what's what. The dance is optional. Does it really grind by weight? It has built-in scales, but I don't think it's actually grinding by weight as such. From the testing I've done, it appears to work like this. You put the portafilter in, it tears the scales, grinds for a set time, and then it knows the weight it dosed in that time, and it changes the grinding time accordingly to ensure it delivers the correct dose for the next shot. This will be why the manual tells you that it will sometimes take a few coffees to get the best results. It usually doses 18 grams. If I go finer with the grind, the next dose is underdosed and it's correct for the next one after that. Is the dose weight consistent? Apart from the first shot after changing the grind size, it's very consistent, within a few points of a gram. What's the grinder pulsing thing? When you grind finer, the grinding runs for a split second and drops a very small amount of coffee into the basket. This isn't automated grinder purging, by the way, which is what I thought it was initially, but it's just to prevent the chances of damaging the grinder while grinding finer. Is there a grind purge function? Purging coffee means grinding it and throwing it away, and you'd want to do that when you've made a big grind size adjustment so that all the ground coffee in the basket is at the same grind size. There is, and I'd recommend using this when making big changes, for example from filter or cold brew to espresso. All you do is press and hold the start grind button. Also, as a result of doing this, you should get the right dose and the right ratio with your next shot. If you don't purge, the machine might need to learn from the next shot and adjust for the one after. This isn't mentioned in the manual, but that's okay because you're watching this video. But it is there briefly on page 10 of the inspiration guide, indicating that it's intended to be used to purge when switching beans. There could be a reason they've not mentioned this. For example, maybe it's better for the machine learning to not purge and to just make a few coffees to let the machine figure it out. But I've tested purging coffee after making a big grind adjustment and it seems to work as I'd expect. What's the espresso like? I should point out here that this machine is really made for freshly roasted beans, and by that I don't mean they have to have been roasted yesterday, although if you buy my coffee beans from seaworks.co.uk, they probably will have been. I mean they have a roasted on date on the bag. As Ninja state in their brew guide and the manual, you'll get the best results using freshly roasted beans. If you're using this with store-bought beans without a roasted on date, you might be disappointed. With freshly roasted beans using a relatively classic espresso blend, you should find the espresso to be really good. I've been regularly pulling shots between 19 to 20% extraction, which I've been measuring with the DI Fluid R2, and I think most people who buy this machine will be very happy with that. While we're speaking of coffee beans, have I mentioned my coffee from seaworks.co.uk?
Yes.
I have. Oh, silly me. Well, I'll mention them again anyway, just to be sure. My coffee beans from seaworks.co.uk are freshly roasted. You'll usually find that the roasted on date on the bag is the same as your order date. Today I'm using Seaworks Chocolate Brownie Blend. We do have 19 coffees, but this is my favourite. If you want to try them, use discount code YT25, 25% off your first order at seaworks.co.uk. By the way, with the Ninja, I found grind size 7 to be the best starting point for espresso with chocolate brownie blend at the hottest brew temperature and a 1:2 ratio, which brings us to, what ratio is the espresso? What ratio do you want? Press and hold the grind size button for 3 seconds to get into the additional settings menu. Turn the dial until you get to setting H06, which is the ratio. 20 gives a 1:2 ratio, 18 grams of ground coffee to 36 grams of espresso, 25 is 1:2.5 and 30 is 1:3. The most common espresso ratio for traditional espresso is 1:2, but just experiment and see what works best for your taste buds with the coffee beans you're using. Are the ratios consistent? They're relatively consistent. Again, if you make big grind adjustments without purging, you'll probably find the ratio is quite a bit off on the next shot, and then the shot after that should be fine. If you want perfection where ratio is concerned, just set it the one up from your desired ratio and stop the shot manually. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Is the Barista Assist technology any good? It's actually really good. You might need to give it a few shots to learn what's going on, but I've been really impressed with it. If you're the kind of coffee drinker I think this machine is made for, you'll probably find you can just follow the barista guidance and you'll enjoy the results. What's the hot auto froth like? It's pretty good. I think most people will love it. There's a spring whizzer whipper thing in the bottom of the jug that creates the vortex while the milk is steaming, and it creates nice foam that I can just about pour some form of latte art with, ish. You can steam manually too, just by selecting the microfoam or steamed milk setting and pressing and holding the start froth button for 3 seconds, and that works like any other Pro Steam wand. What's the steam power like? Let's find out by timing how long it takes to steam 170 ml of milk to 60 degrees Celsius. What's the cold froth like? Brilliant. As long as you use cold milk, it'll produce really good cold froth, the best cold froth I've seen from a home machine. What's the cold pressed espresso like? It's actually surprisingly good. I wouldn't want to drink it at the temperature it ends up at, about 36 degrees Celsius or 97 degrees Fahrenheit, but over ice and or with cold froth, great. It takes about 2 minutes, and with a 1 to 2.5 ratio, 18 grams of ground coffee to 45 grams of liquid, the extraction percentage is about 20%, which isn't what I was expecting given how low the brew temperature is. What's the filter brewed coffee like? Apart from the fact it's not really filter brew, I mean there's a filter involved but it's an espresso filter basket, not a paper filter, it's actually really good. To me it's somewhere between strong filter coffee and cafetiere or French press coffee in terms of taste and mouthfeel. And it's fairly quick. A 10-ounce cup takes about 3 minutes and an 18-ounce bucket of coffee takes about 4 minutes. For my fellow coffee geeks, the TDS is about 2.2 to 2.3%. For the non-geeks, this is total dissolved solids and we can use this to work out the extraction percentage. Where ratio is concerned, if you brew on the classic setting, it's about 1 to 16 ratio. For example, 18 grams of ground coffee to 285 ml of liquid coffee. Okay, probably slightly higher than that if we calculate the water soaked up by the grounds. And on the rich setting, it's more like 1 to 13. What's over ice? This is the same as a filter coffee but with a slightly longer, slightly cooler brew, so the resulting brew ends up about the same extraction but about 10 to 15 degrees Celsius or 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. What's the cold brew like? Cold? I know some cold brew lovers are going to kick off about this and say cold brew is an 8 to 12 hour process, how could it possibly be done in a few minutes? Also, some people are going to say cold brew should be brewed cold. The final temperature of this, if not brewing over ice, is about 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. But the proof is in the pudding, and personally, I really like it. It tastes balanced and smooth, and it's about the right strength for drinking without dilution for me. And it's quick. A 6-ounce brew took 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and an 18-ounce brew took 7 minutes. And I'm using the quotes here because with the cold brew, the volumes aren't quite as selected. 18-ounce ends up at about 8 to 10 ounces, and 6-ounce ends up at around 4 ounces. Again, for the geeks, the TDS is about 3%, thanks again to the DI Fluid R2. What's a quad shot? This is a quadruple shot, as the name suggests. 40 grams of ground coffee to 80 grams of espresso, if you've got the ratio set to 1 to 2, for example. How loud is it? How hot is the coffee?
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
How hot is the milk? This depends on whether you choose dairy or milk alternative here, and also what milk temperature you set in the menu, low, medium or high. If you steam it manually though, you can steam it as hot as you want. Does it dispense hot water? It doesn't, and that seems like a mistake. You could just deliver hot water from the group, I suppose, but there's no way to get it to dispense water from the steam wand. What's my favourite thing about this machine? Thanks for asking. I think it has to be this, the inspiration guide. Not only does this machine have a huge amount of potential when it comes to all the different drinks it'll make, Ninja have created this glossy booklet which I think is a masterstroke. They've called it the Inspiration Guide. I think that's underselling it. DeLonghi, for example, bundle their Lavalier with an instruction booklet, but this is much more than that. It has a table of contents. On the first page it has a list of all the upgrades you might want to buy. It has a Getting to Know Your Luxe Cafe section telling you what all the bits are and what they do. It has a brew tips section with some really useful information. For example, when purchasing coffee beans it says it's best to buy a bag with a roasted on date rather than a best before date. Yes, Ninja. You just missed out the bit from cworks.co.uk and use YT25 for 25% off your first order, but I'll let you off. Then it has a really good how-to guide for each drink option, and then a bunch of recipes for each along with an ingredients list. It's even got an espresso and ice cream, but I can't remember what that's called. Even the manual's good. As I've needed to know about how to do stuff, I've just flicked through it and everything's in there and easy to find. Sorry! What are my least favourite things about it? Do you know what I really hate about this machine? Nothing. Overall, I think it's ace for the money, and for the people I think it's really made for, I think it's spot on. There are a few quirks. Not giving it the availability to deliver hot water seems strange. I can't quite work out the reasoning behind that. I don't like the feel of the water tank connection to the machine, it just feels a bit loose. This dosing funnel is really important. You can't use the grinder without it, and it's a bit thin and lightweight. I feel like a clumsy oaf like me could break this, and I've liked this to feel a bit more solid. The volumes do go a little bit wonky sometimes, and with espresso and filter, I think that's just when making big grind adjustments without purging coffee, and the machine needed a couple of brews after doing this to unknot its knickers. Figure of speech, it's not wearing any. The cold brew volumes are a bit strange. I've been getting about 4 ounces on the 6 ounce setting, just under 10 ounces on the 18 ounce setting. The drip tray does need emptying quite often when making milkies, there's quite a lot of purging. It's a big drip tray, about 500ml capacity, but it doesn't take long to fill. There's not a great deal of width for cups. The portafilter has a splitter, so you can split a shot into 2 cups, but to fit in that space it'd have to be pretty small cups. Sometimes you get an insert funnel message, but that just means you've not quite pushed the portafilter in properly, so just give it a push. I do think it's smart enough to be able to flash up a purge grinds for 5 seconds message or something when changing to a brew type with a very different grind size, and I think that would be helpful. These are only little observations, none of them are by any means deal breakers, and I have to remind myself how cheap this machine is. It really is a lot of machine for the money. So I keep going on about the people who this is made for. Who's that? Normal, everyday coffee drinkers. This is really aimed at the average mainstream coffee drinker, the mass market. And honestly, for normal coffee drinkers, I think this is amazing. I think it's priced right, I think it ticks all the boxes, I think it's easy enough for anyone to use, and I think the manual and the glossy inspiration guide it comes with will make this an amazing experience for normal, everyday coffee drinkers. Is it a home barista machine? Not really. If you're thinking of getting into home espresso more as a hobby and you were thinking about getting a Sage or Breville, Barista Pro or Dual Boiler or a Rocket, ECM or Elite machine for example, this really isn't for you. Actually, having said that, if I had the space for this at home alongside my espresso setup, I'd buy one just for the iced coffees, the cold froth and those big cups of filter style coffee that are just so easy to make. Is this better than the Sage Barista Express? I'm answering this question as it's the one people are asking, and the answer is no. It's not really a valid question. These are hugely different machines. I think it's the obvious comparison because they're closest in terms of price, but these are far too different to compare. The Barista Express is a home espresso machine with an integrated grinder with an RRP of $699 or £630, although you can often get it cheaper if you shop around. If you're in the UK, go to coffeeblog.co.uk/join brewtime to join my Brewtime mailing list, and I'll email you whenever I have deals and discount codes to share. The Ninja Luxe Cafe is a hugely versatile home coffee machine with a lot more electronics and componentry. I'm impressed with the build quality of the Ninja, but versus the Barista Express, there's no comparison. The build cost for the Ninja has had to be spread out over all kinds of components, internal and external, so it has to be spread thinner. The Barista Express will usually last 5 to 10 years if looked after. They're more of a workhorse espresso machine, and you can fix them if they break. If the grinder breaks, for example, it's usually the gears and they cost about a tenner. If you're handy, you can fix them yourself. If you're not, you can find someone who is. The Ninja is very much a kitchen appliance. I'd expect them to last like kitchen appliances, in that every month you own it after the warranty runs out is a bonus. That's not a put down. Ninja make kitchen appliances, and if you own this for 2 years and you're the kind of person I think it's really aimed at, as I've said, the normal coffee drinker, and you tend to buy takeaway coffee on your way to work, for example, this will more than pay for itself in savings within that time. Ninja have clearly taken inspiration from Sage, and with the Barista Assist and the auto frothing, the Barista Touch Impress is the closest comparison, and I think what Ninja have been inspired by. The difference in cost here is huge. In the US, $499 versus $1499. And yes, Ninja have very cleverly given this some similar features, including Barista Assist, and it does quad shots, filter, cold brew and cold froth, which the Touch Impress doesn't do. But it's a very different machine. It's a different user experience, and again, completely different in terms of build quality. And the Touch Impress also has a heck of a lot of electronics going on, but if you have an issue with it in 5 years down the line, you should be able to have it fixed. With a machine like this, I may be wrong, but I think when this stops working, most people will just end up replacing it. Do I think Sage or other espresso machine brands should be concerned about this? No, not at all. I actually think you should be really pleased. Yes, I think some people who are going to go for the Barista Express might go for this instead because it's cheaper and it's more versatile in terms of drink options and it's more user-friendly with the Barista Assist. But also, I think this machine is going to bring millions of people from the mainstream coffee market who'd usually have bought a pod machine or a fully automatic bean-to-cup machine into using a portafilter machine. And I think a percentage of these people will get more into specialty home barista side of things, and I think a lot of these people will naturally end up with a Sage machine or an Elite, a Rocket, ECM, Profitec and so on. Also, for the people who don't do that and who are happy to just replace this as they would their microwave or air fryer every few years, I think we'll see the competition at this kind of price point really starting to up their game as a result of this. Let me know in the comments what you think about this so far, and if you've already got the Ninja Luxe Cafe, let me know in the comments how you're finding it.
Coffee Cave's comment of the week!
Fellow YouTuber Coffee Geek says,
Nice.
Cheers, Mark! Thank you very much for watching, and if you think coffee is yay, and you've enjoyed what you've seen, please drop us a like on this video, as it really helps. We've got tons of content about how to make better coffee at home to take you from beginner to home barista. We've got reviews and how-tos on the most popular machines. If you like the sound of that, click on my face to subscribe. Tatty Bye!